We need to stop building fence like Granddad and start building fence like our kids will need to in the future.
This is Mr. Fence Academy. It's very, very important. In this climate, in our area, we have a big problem with frost heave. Frost heave is probably the #1 enemy to our wood fences in our area. You can see frost heave years down the road by looking at a fence, and you'll see that no longer does it look flat or smooth. We have a good contour on top. It'll be irregular, so there'll be posts sticking up uneven on top. I can tell you that didn't happen, and that wasn't the way it was originally built. What happened was they built the fence and they had either did not compact the hole well enough, did not have it belled at the bottom enough, did not have enough dirt above the concrete, right? Those things will prevent frost heave. If you talk about frost heave, is the ground shrinking in the wintertime, freezing, and it's going to compress against that concrete slug. If you dig a straight hole, or worse yet, what I see more often is the hole's wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So it's a little bit tapered. If you can imagine the ground squeezing against that concrete slug, where is it going to go? It's going to go up just a little bit. And when it goes up, water, as it thaws out, water and dirt are going to fall back underneath it. When it goes back, settle back down, it won't go back where it was. Okay? It's going to be higher. That process, winter after winter, will keep jacking that post up out of the ground. So the way to prevent that, a couple things we do, we make the bottom of the hole bigger. We call it belled out. You can look at these holes. At the bottom, they're going to be bigger. So they took the clamshells, the post hole diggers, and they notched out the sides of the hole at the bottom. So when the concrete goes in there, it's bigger at the bottom. When the ground shrinks, it's going to want to push the post down, not up. And it pushes against the virgin ground, it won't move. So that's one thing we do. The next thing we do is we don't use wet set concrete. Right? Wet set concrete, one, we cannot compact it in the hole. So if it's wet and I try to compress it or use a tampon bar to compress it against the side walls of the hole of the post, it's just going to slosh around. Okay? I cannot compress it. Concrete also is full of water, so concrete shrinks. That's why they make non-shrinking concrete, grout, hydraulic cement, because it does shrink. So if you can imagine wet set concrete shrinks just a little bit, then now we have a void between the slug and the dirt, or at least we don't have compression. The argument can be made that it's no longer pressed against the sidewalls of the dirt. Okay, so we use dry pack concrete. We use our own specifically formulated concrete with chat and not pea gravel like Quickcrete uses. So those jagged rocks lock together faster and easier for you, so we get better compression. So we have a belled out hole, compressed concrete in the hole. Our hole depth is twice the frost line. We're about 12 inches frost line here. We're over twice that. We're at 30 inches deep. So we're well below the frost line. So we have more posts in the ground, in non-frozen ground. And the last most important piece is we do not bring the concrete to ground level. We do not fill the hole all the way to the top with concrete, because when it freezes, the first thing that freezes is the top of the ground freezes, and it freezes down. That's how this works. If we have concrete at the very, very top, or let's say if we have dirt at the top, the dirt freezes first. It creates a shield or a blockage or a frozen lid on top of the concrete below it. So if you have 3 to 4 inches of dirt on top of the concrete, the first thing that freezes is the dirt. Once that dirt freezes, it's very hard for it to frost heave and push up through the frozen ground. All right, so that's why it's important that we do not fill to the top of the grade. It's very easy to see this. I saw this last week, or this week rather. I did a live video of a fence that was built and the concrete was finished to grade. They dry packed it, but it was finished to grade. There are frost heave everywhere and the chunks of concrete coming out of the ground. That's because they had no dirt on top of it to lock it down. This is so important. When you guys are digging holes and you're setting posts, it's so important that you bell out the hole, you have the right depth, and you have concrete within 3 to 4 inches of the top. No further than that. And I show up on job sites all the time. I tell you guys, no, make it deeper, no bell out the hole, make sure they cut more concrete. There's a reason for that. This fence will fail if we don't follow those steps. You have to follow the steps. It goes with everything we do. Every style of fence we build has to have a belled out hole, concrete below the top, at the depth of 30 inches or 36, depending on what type of fence we're building.